Hey everybody, this is Chris from EWC, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about the college tour experience and what you can expect with that, what kind of questions you might want to ask when you go on a college tour, and just some general things to keep in mind with that process. So one of the questions a lot of students might have is, when should you go on a college tour? And really the answer is, there's not a bad time to go. I would recommend going either during the fall or spring semester. Obviously, you can go during the summer term for whatever institution that it is that you're interested in. But the issue with going during the summer, in my opinion, is that you're not going to get a true sense of the student body. You're not going to see students out and about. You're not going to really see what things are like on a daily basis when classes are happening, when football games are happening, if a school offers that, for example, when different activities are going on. So I think going in the thick of the fall or spring semester is one of the best times to go, but really you can go anytime you have free time, and there are a couple of different options for that as well. For example, you can go and do what's called a self-guided tour. So most colleges are offering that these days. You would either drop by the admissions office of the university or maybe even the student center and pick up a map, and it will help walk you through different locations to check out, whether it's a residence hall, a dining hall, a classroom building. All of that kind of stuff will be clearly labeled, and it's something you can do in your own time, because it is difficult to carve out time to drive 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5+ hours to a university when you have a lot of stuff going on in high school, whether it's sporting events, different things that you're studying for. All of that kind of stuff takes time, but self-guided tours are a good option. However, you can typically register for a tour either by going to the college's admissions website. A lot of them now have online dates that you can register for. I know in a lot of cases fall tours tend to fill up a lot more quickly than spring tours, but you can go see what's available, or you can just call the admissions office and say, hey, I'm interested in this institution. I want to drop by for a visit with friends, with family. What's available? And they'll certainly help guide you through that process. The other thing students are wondering about with a tour is, what kinds of questions should you ask? Because I think a lot of times it can be kind of intimidating. When you go for a tour, you're probably going to get some kind of information session before you go on the tour, and so it's a lot to process. It's a little bit overwhelming. And so what are the more important questions to kind of put out there and ask for the person who's guiding the experience, guiding that tour? One of the things that students are often curious about are the freshman living requirements. So it could be the case that the college says, you know what, freshmen do not have to live on campus. That's relatively rare, though. I think in most university settings, you're going to see that students do have to live on campus at least that first year, maybe a little bit longer. But you can certainly ask about that and see what kinds of offerings there are in terms of the residence halls, whether they're kind of a traditional setup with how they're structured, or whether or not they're suite structures. There's a lot of different things to sort of keep in mind with that. You'll also want to see how close certain dorms are to classroom buildings and to other things that you might be interested in. But certainly asking about those first year living requirements is a good kind of stepping stone. It's a good thing to ask when you get on campus and are starting to get underway with the tour process. Another important thing to ask about, and I think just to be reminded of, are deadlines, right? So a lot of that information, and really all of that information, should be available on a college's website, but you can ask the person guiding the tour about early action, early decision, whether or not they offer rolling admissions, when scholarship deadlines might be, whether or not they have an honors college, and what might be involved with that as far as deadlines are concerned. But having that information up front gives you a sense of when you would need to apply, when you would need to have everything together. And again, whether you're going into this experience as a freshman in high school and you just want to get an early idea of what a college looks like, or whether or not you're a senior and you're kind of waiting a little bit later in that process to check things out, it's good to know when those deadlines are, because trust me, you do not want to wait until the last second and be surprised by something that you could have known about earlier on. Another thing that you might want to ask about has to do with campus safety. So when you're walking around a campus, keep an eye out for example, blue light call boxes, right? So a lot of colleges are going to have boxes around campus where, in the event of an emergency, you can pick it up, you can call the campus police and get some assistance that way. You can also ask about whether or not the university has its own police department, or whether or not they are serviced by the local town or city that they're housed in, and sort of get some information regarding that. I think too, one thing to look at when you're walking around is how good the lighting is, right? So if you have a late night class, or you're coming back from an event a little bit later in the evening, do you feel like you're going to be able to see things well? Are you going to be comfortable? Are you going to be safe? And these are fair questions to ask, right? I mean, university officials are going to be okay with you asking these questions, and it will help give you an initial sense of how you feel about the environment, how safe you feel, and these are good things to be aware of. So these are just some quick tips and tricks to keep in mind as you prepare for college tour season, which really is a year-round thing. Again, I recommend going in the fall or spring semester so you can see what the campus looks like when it's active. I think that's a good way to really get a sense of the student body, but you can really go anytime. So if there's a question you're curious about when it comes to tours, and maybe we didn't get to it in this video, drop it in the comments below and we'll reply. We'll get back to you. And as always, thanks so much for watching.